Guys, I have a question for you.
Ooh.
Like right away. It's super important.
Mm-hmm.
Do I look fat in these jeans?
I mean, it's mostly your face that makes you look fat and not the jeans. So if you're asking if it's like the jeans' fault, no.
Johnny, your answer.
I'm gonna have to say no, because when you ask the question, "Do I look fat in these jeans?" what you're asking is it's a comparative question. Like you're not saying, "Do I look fat?" and also, "Do I look fat in these jeans?" Like there's an implication in the question that is like, "Do I look rotunda?"
The caveat, of course, is that I'm really into it, Leon. Like your whole style situation. So like, keep rocking in the free world. Don't change a thing. But
Okay.
I was
here's what I was hoping would happen. One of you would say no, and the other one would say, well, I can't tell because we're on the radio. And I said, you failed the test because you're always supposed to say no without looking.
That's garbage. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, it's garbage.
That's absolutely what you're supposed to do.
This is a theme of the last couple
Supposed
episodes.
to, he says with like finger quotes that I'm sure that you can hear over the internet.
Right.
Leon keeps advocating for just falsehoods, and Austin keeps going like, just say the truth and everyone will hate you, but at least you'll be a good person. I don't know. I don't know what Austin's advocating
I don't know
for.
if that makes you a good person because honestly, if there's one kind of person I hate, it's someone who offers an unsolicited opinion that is purposefully hurtful.
Oh, and it's not unsolicited. The stereotype of the thing you're saying is, does this make me look fat? No, of course not, because I don't want you to be mad at me. That's totally solicited. I would never just go up to someone and be like, I gotta be honest, you're just ugly. Like, I would never, that's horrible.
I don't think that always honesty is necessarily the thing that makes you a good person.
Oh no,
that's what I'm trying
like,
to say. That's what I'm trying to say. It's more complex than that.
You're
It couldn't
married to
hurt.
someone for like 20 years, you have kids, and then you discover that the person that you're married to has had an affair. You can't live with it, so you decide that you're going to break up. What do you tell your kids? You're like, oh, your other parent is a son of a bitch, and they cheated on me, so...
That's a really specific situation, and like, I don't know.
I just pulled that one right out of my...
I know. There's a lot of stuff going on in that. My point is that listen, the kids are gonna find out anyway. There's no point in lying. You're just gonna confuse them. Just be honest. Like, they're gonna figure it out.
But it's not your call completely to tell them.
I mean,
yeah. Also, in fairness, like if they are kids, then yes, they might find out later, but they might find out as adults, in which case they will be able to handle it better.
I was able to handle it perfectly fine.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, my father cheated on my mother, and honestly, like as a kid, I was like, "That's fucked up." And admittedly, it's none of my business. And maybe I shouldn't have known, is what I'm trying to say.
I have a very distinct memory of being in a car with my mom and asking her why she was the way she was, and her saying, "You'll understand when you're older." And now I'm older, and I'm like, well, because you made bad decisions was the thing. Like, like that is like, you could have told me that as a kid. I would have understood. Like, it's the kids are not.
Like, that's a truth that she may not have been aware of at the time.
I guess that's fair.
That's fair.
I just don't. I don't like.
You can only tell the truth as well as you personally know it.
That's 100% true. But I just don't. I don't have.
I advocate for honesty as like a general policy. I do, but I also feel like, how do I put this? Like, I always feel like, be yourself, but be your best self is kind of how I feel. Like that's sort of what I'm bringing to the table here.
I'm just against absolutism.
That's
fair.
That's fair. I guess my
Absolutely. Utterly and completely, totally.
I'd want to distinguish lying to kids from saying like, maybe you're not ready yet or something. There's a difference between Santa's not real and like some other shit that people put on kids that fucks them up for life.
That's fair.
And I just think it's easier if you don't lie, and maybe like a simple explanation that you can expand on later. But just like lying is like just adds a bunch of like complexes on top of shit. This is getting like too like broad, but Yeah. So
I think we've solved honesty here on the show.
We're knocking it out of the park these past couple weeks.
you could definitely concoct 100 situations in which white lies are preferable. So like that's like you don't need to tell me. I already can see the comments. Like I get it, but like I would rather be too honest than too deceitful. So I'm gonna.
No, I'll agree
side.
with that. I'll definitely agree with that.
I will step on your side of the grass there.
It's so luscious, Johnny. Come over.
It looked a little less greener a moment ago, but now I'm like, hey, this is pretty nice.
Because you can always have the conversation like, you shouldn't have said that, dude. And I'm like, oh, damn, sorry. But then if it's like, why did you lie to me? And then that's like, that's never a good feeling, right? Anyway, I have stuff to talk about this week. Do you guys?
I sort of do, but I'm not sure how much Leon's going to want to get into it.
Oh,
we can definitely do it anyway. There are always topics that are gonna like be more interesting than do one and not two of us, or two of us and not one of us. That is not uncommon for our show, and that's okay.
No, Leon. This is the thing. It's got nothing to do with Austin.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I finished the X-Files this week.
Oh, okay.
Leon.
Right, and you hate half of it, right? That's okay. We can definitely do that. I don't know. Do you want to start with that, or do we want to start with Austin's thing? Because either way, it's totally
I warn
okay
you, if we start with the X-Files, well, I mean, regardless of whether or not we start with the X-Files, we're gonna be here a while.
Okay. Well, why don't we do?
Saying even half of the X-Files is salvageable is pretty generous, to be fair. Like, it's not a good show.
You're wrong.
I like the principal actors, but it's kind of a bad. Never mind. We can get into it, I guess. Johnny, do you want to start? Because I do have
Austin,
input.
By all means, please, you start. I'm just gonna stand over here filling bottles with gasoline.
Oh dear. I don't know if we should have like this as a regular segment. Maybe we try it out, see how people like it. But since I'm going to law school, I'm gonna be like chock full of like law school thoughts, and it's hey. Do you guys want this podcast to be worth $120,000 in value for our listeners? Because I can provide that service and just translate everything they give me into podcast speak, and then you can take it home. And then I think it's a pretty valuable MP3 for the listeners.
Have we yet? Do you guys remember back in the day when we talked about what kind of legal options you had to pursue if somebody ejaculated upon you in public?
Oh, I 100% thought of that exact question.
I do not remember that at all, but I would like to discuss it.
Leon,
now.
I believe your exact quote, and I know this because it haunts all of my deepest nightmares, is, I'm going to...
That's getting cut out.
Can you please just beep it?
If you could further educate me, Austin, on the specificities of this particular situation. Not that I have a plan or anything like that. It's just inquiring minds would like to know.
I definitely have an answer for this, because when the relevant rule came up, I was like, oh, solve that mystery. You got to tell the boys. Let me bring this one back.
Before you continue, I just have to say that what amazes me most about this is that you've only been in school for, am I right, 3 weeks?
Like 1.5 because of the hurricane.
1.5 hurricane-dependent weeks, and already some of the deepest questions that I need answered from your life experiences are seeing answers. Please continue.
Yeah, I've cracked this nut wide open. It's a tort called battery. It's an offensive or harmful touching of someone's personal space with yours. If you just ejaculated on somebody without their consent, you would definitely be liable for battery. Okay,
so that's a shared space, not necessarily physical contact.
So there's this idea of like extended personality. So like if you ejaculated on like their hat or their glasses that they weren't wearing at the time, or if you did it on them, that's like textbook battery. But also if you like did it on their stuff, that could be conceivably also battery. I think the example we talked about was like someone like smacked a plate out of someone's hand, and that was like battery, even though you didn't touch them specifically. But yeah, definitely crime.
What about socks that are yours, you own, but they're still in the package, like you've never worn them? I feel like this is something I would like to know about.
So wait, you go to the store, you buy a pack of socks, you don't open them,
right?
But then you just jerk off on them.
No, you misunderstand.
I do.
I mean socks that you, Austin, have bought and you're planning to wear, and you're very excited about that, but you're not done with your current socks, and then I find them, and then I just splooge all over them, and then you come home, and then you're like, well, this is a legal gray area.
No, I think in that instance you have trespassed my chattel, which is a fancy lawyer word for possessions.
Okay.
So you're definitely, you're liable for what you just did to my stuff.
That's fair. I'll pay you whatever it costs.
I'm gonna sue so many people. It's awesome.
So what's a chattel?
Chattel is literally just possessions. It's like your
all right.
stuff.
So to trespass a chattel, I have to be disrespectful to your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what if I bought the socks?
So if I come over to your house and I see that you've got like...
Also, I think
know.
you've also just trespassed my property probably because you broke in.
No, let's
to jizz on my socks.
You invite me inside, and I smack your collector's edition of Persona 3 off the shelf, and I'm like, that's a shitty game. I have just trespassed your chattel.
I mean, and also you just destroyed my property, which isn't necessarily the same
No,
thing.
it doesn't really suffer any damage. It falls to the ground, and then maybe I look a little bit ashamed, but I'm gonna push it as hard as I can go because I want to establish my dominance.
I mean, I could just sue you for...
Because I'm not a new male.
I believe that's an intentional infliction of emotional distress, is what we call
What
that.
What if, like Austin, let's just pretend that you own a teddy bear that talks, and I masturbate in front of it while you watch, but you didn't have to watch. Like, is that sexual assault, or like,
Is the teddy bear talking?
Right. Well, that's part of it.
There's so many nuances to this case. Whose house are we
Right.
in? What discussion did we have before?
We're in your house. You invited me in, so there's no vampire rule.
Yeah, that's exactly what I almost yelled during class when we were talking about a privileged entry of property. I was like, vampire rules. But yeah, okay, so I invite you in. I'm like, this is my talking bear, and you just start unbuckling your pants.
Well, no. First, I say, do you? It's really hot. Do you mind if I take my pants off? And then you're like, that's weird, but I guess because we're in Florida. And then I do, but without your permission, I start jacking off while looking directly and maintaining eye contact with the bear. Not you, but only the bear.
See, well, at that point, you've gotten consent for all of your actions up to that point, but at that point, I would probably ask you to leave, and then if you didn't leave within a reasonable time, you would be trespassing.
Okay, but let's say I did all of that.
Reasonable time?
That's for the jury to decide. There's a lot.
That's fair. No, let's say that. Hold on. But let's say that I did all of that, and you said, well, Leon, I hadn't expected you to do that. I would like you to leave. And then I say, okay, but on my way out, I'm still doing it. Like, I'm leaving at your request. Like, I am following all of your rules, but
you're still just jerking it so right.
Yeah, but you don't have autonomy over my body in a legal sense, so you can't force me to stop that. You can just force me to leave. So at that point, I still feel like I'm in the legal right to scar your teddy bear sexually for life.
I mean, if you leave into like the public while jerking it so good, that's a different crime, not related to me.
Surely that's got to be like there has to be some indecent exposure in that.
Yeah.
Let's say I pull my pants up just as I exit the door, like real smooth criminal style. Like I really nailed everything. Like I feel like look, Austin, I just want to jerk off in front of your teddy bear.
Yeah.
Is it indecent exposure if there's nobody there to witness it?
I think that's a question for philosophers, really.
If a pair of pants fall on the street and there's no one around to see it, does it break a law?
Right.
Well, I mean, somebody's always watching because the NSA has satellites and the Illuminati are in our drinking water. So, I mean, somebody's seeing Leon jerk it every time.
If I'm let's say I'm in a deserted highway and I'm jerking off in front of a teddy bear because that's what I do. And I finish, but a police officer comes by and notices what I had previously done, but can't actually prove that that anyone watched me while I was doing it. But when we go to trial, he said God was watching. Does that count?
All right, there's a couple different things in play at once. One is it would probably
Okay.
depend on the indecent exposure laws of the state because they vary pretty widely.
Yeah, I imagine.
You can't really just invoke God in court because that's not necessarily binding. That's something called natural law, which is distinct from positive law, which is what we use in, I think, every country that I'm aware of. Which, it's just like statutes and stuff. I don't know that there's any crime of like having an orgasm unwitnessed. Like, I don't know if that's specifically.
This is the
feels like a
question that
crime.
I'm asking.
Yeah. It's a sin. Is that not the same thing as a crime? It's definitely a sin.
No, it's
Because
literally
Coveting,
not. But
coveting is a sin, and you're never going to go on trial because you're like, I don't know, that guy's pants are real nice.
I covet a lot, like all the time.
Wait, Leon, did you just say that masturbating isn't a sin?
No, I'm saying masturbating is a sin,
okay.
but
Sin is not the
sin
same
in
thing
law.
as a crime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I make sure we're all on the same page. That's correct.
Okay.
Is this what this is going to be? You guys ask me like really weird specific sex questions?
Actually,
Austin,
the next question I was going to ask was just going to
Yeah.
be, like, how weirdly, like, particular and paranoid do you think you're going to be for the rest of your life in full knowledge of all these things that are crimes that you may not have necessarily known beforehand?
I'm like
now,
I'm hyper
now.
aware already. Yeah.
Now you know for a fact that, I don't know, maybe having sex at a theme park or something like that, especially when you're underage, there's a very specific illegality about that.
No, I was the total trash crime boy back in the day, and I can't do any more garbage crimes. Or I'm gonna get in
Okay,
trouble.
all right. So now what if, though, you're about to embezzle, like, millions of dollars accidentally,
Go on.
but then, like, your lawyer voice goes, wait a minute, this is illegal.
I don't think you need a lawyer voice for that.
Or if, like, maybe you're in my apartment and you want to slap my Zatoichi Criterion Collection Blu-ray set off my shelf, and you're like, hang on,
Let me get the teddy bear first. He can watch.
I might be trespassing on Johnny's chattel.
This is a whole thing.
Austin,
yeah.
I have two questions. One, I know you like to fight people for no reason. Do you? I mean, does any of that count as illegal? Now that I think of it.
Oh, that's a really good question because in battery law, there's this whole like thing about consent, right? And you can give either implicit or explicit consent to touching that would otherwise be tortious or consist, be a tort. And so that's why like
That's
you don't
a good
get
word. I like that. Tortious.
There's a lot of good words in law, and some of them I'm really excited to use, and other ones are Latin and therefore not as fun to use. But the point is, like, when people box or like do MMA, obviously they are arrested on the spot. So there definitely are violences that you can consent to, but it's really iffy because
there has to be threatening limitations.
Yeah.
Because obviously, I realize that in the United States, assisted suicide, for example, might be full of consent, but in the end, there's a point in time where somebody goes, and they died? Wait, nope, that's illegal.
a lot of law has this weird thing, like we've already touched on it, which is like reasonability, which is not like a thing you can measure. So it's like if you and a friend were like, hey, let's punch each other, like I consent to this, and then he hits you too hard and you're like, I'm going to sue you, and then it goes before a jury, and if the jury decides that it was not reasonable for that to be consented to, then you can just lose. And there's like a lot of wiggle room. So I would say like don't if you're actually worried about that.
So that's where the art of law comes in.
Oh yeah,
and you get to be the guy who gets out in front of the jury in your athletic shirt and your shorts, and go, so my man over here was all like, hey, let's punch each other, and it's true that he thought that was cool, but he did not know it was going to be so tortious.
We actually, something like that almost happened. We were talking about fights in hockey. It's almost this exact concept about like if two people fight in hockey, how come that's not a crime? Because they're punching each other. And they also used the example of a football player whose name is Nadamaka Suh. He's like just this absolute like violence golem. Like, he just goes around stomping on people. He's been fined like tens of thousands of dollars.
As opposed to all those very friendly sandwich golems, which are totally different and shouldn't be lumped in with the violence ones.
Exactly. But he asked the class, like, do you think him stomping on this? There's a famous play where he stomped on a guy who was on the ground. And he said, is that like a battery? Like, should he be able to be sued for that? And I came very close to raising my hand and saying he shouldn't be sued because the laws of man don't apply to monster trucks that have taken human form. But I didn't, because I didn't know if he'd think that was funny. That was the same professor who used the Phoenix Wright slides. He also has used an Invader Zim slide since then.
He's my favorite professor ever.
He's very good. Also, he's the torts professor. So a lot of the stuff we've been talking about is that, hey, if you're listening to this, Professor Severe, can this just be my final exam? Clearly, I have a command in the material. Just accept this, please.
I've like just one more question, because we've been talking about this for 20 minutes, and Johnny probably has some things to say. Just one more question. At what point do you become the law, where you can declare that you are it?
Okay, so law school is a weird thing.
I think, Leon...
I love that you're giving me a real answer to this.
Leon, I think that requires you to at least be declared a judge first.
I mean, okay. I don't know how serious an answer you want to this, but like when you take the bar exam is when you you become a lawyer. But like the weird thing about law school that I'm figuring out is it's not like other like graduate programs in the sense that like I'm going to be taking classes the whole time. A lot of it's just going to be like me getting internships or like just working. Like a lot of it is like it's a lot of it's just literally them getting you a job. That's like the whole thing of this is like you spend a couple semesters like reading, and then it's like on the job experience, because you can know everything there is to know, but if you haven't actually done it, then you're not like useful to anybody. So I think you have to work starting your second year's summer, like 2L summer.
Stephanie's doctorate course in psychology, or program. I should say not course, because it's not like, come on down and in 6 months you get to put some initials next to your name. But yeah, her doctorate program is very, very similar. By the start of her second year, they were putting her in work placements. Yeah, I know, like medicine's like that too. You have to do like residency and stuff. So it starts off like regular school, but it's like going to quickly not be that anymore, because you just kind of have to learn the foundation, and they can't make you memorize like every law in Florida. That's just like crazy pants. So they just teach you like the basics, and then they send you out there, and you just kind of like look stuff up / like get mentorship until you stop fucking up. So do you have any idea where you're going to specialize yet? Like alligator law, hurricane law, really, really moist weather law?
I don't know, like FSU is like a really prestigious kind of thing. Like I could probably get all kinds of cool stuff, but I probably just want to help poor people. I think I probably want to end up in public defense.
Okay. You're going to have bus ads.
No. Public defenders are for the state.
That's the opposite of that.
Yeah. People who are on buses are like personal injury attorneys who are private practice. So
if I was a public defender, I'd get bus ads
just for the vanity. Actually,
then it'd just be like, if you're interesting, ask for Johnny.
The guy who's on all the buses in Tallahassee, I don't know if he's national, but it's like
if he is, I wouldn't know.
It's a double layer of irony, because he's on all the buses, but he can't legally drive anymore because he's had so many DUIs. And he actually, there's someone who works for the firm who just is his chauffeur and drives him around. So that's, like I said, I think as a lawyer, you're just expected to be drunk like most of the time. Like that's just kind of an expectation of the thing.
Godspeed, young man.
Yeah, we can talk about it more next week. Maybe I already have like tons of stories, which is banana sandwiches. I didn't accumulate this many stories in 4 years of literature, because all I did was read old books.
They'd be like, "Hey, Austin, you got any good stories?" And you'd be like, "Moby Dick."
Yeah, I'm like, you guys got to hear about this whale. I love Moby Dick because there's so many great chapter names in that book. I feel like they go unrecognized. There's one that's just called The Crotch. Why does nobody talk about that? Moby Dick is dope. Let's talk about X-Files, and then if we have more time at the end, I'll hit you guys with some more law stuff.
Okay.
Oh, and there's a chapter. Hold on, there's a chapter called The Nut. in Moby Dick. Anyway, back to X-Files.
Is it before or after the crotch?
That's the good question.
It's under it.
Fuck. That was so fucking easy. How did I not do that?
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Johnny. I just want you to know, like, you not liking a thing that I like is not going to hurt my feelings. Like,
No.
I just went out to see Dr. Strangelove last night.
Yeah.
With Jess and the Rap Critic. The Rap Critic did not like it at all. We're still friends.
Yeah.
It's not. He kept like asking me to like debate him, and I was like, look, if you don't think it's funny, it's fine.
I'm not trying to drive a wedge between us.
No. I'm sorry. I just go right ahead. Like go full tilt on it. It's cool.
So, the thing was, like, the last time I think I talked about the X-Files, I think on the show, I was, like, I very briefly mentioned that I was finally in the last season. But we didn't really talk about it very much. The last time we talked about the X-Files, I think I was somewhere around like season 5 or 6 or something like that. And I was like, this is getting a bit ridiculous.
Sorry, go ahead.
I've finished the whole thing now. I mean, movies notwithstanding, but I've heard that the movies are like
the first movie's good. The second movie is apparently bad, but I've never seen it. I've never seen the last season of the show or the second movie.
I heard that the movies were like food dye in icing, where it's like if you don't like icing, it doesn't matter if you're gonna have the blue or the red. It's like it's gonna suck. You're gonna hate it.
Okay.
Metaphor game on point.
But then that there are some people who are like, ooh, I love icing, but you know what? Only the blue stuff. And it's like, sure, okay, whatever. These stories about people who will only eat M&Ms of a certain color, or they'll always pick certain ones out or something like that. I don't know, okay? If you put something down in front of me and you assure me it's edible, I'll eat it, if I believe in you. But
okay.
So, here's the problem, right?
Okay.
About halfway through the show, things start to get a little stupid. And not just like the goofy episodes, because there are some goofy episodes that like run through the whole thing, and there's like a lot of Monster of the Week shit, and just like, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's only a certain amount of longevity that you can pull out of a show like that. Now the problem is that when you get to like seasons 5, 6 past, even the lore episodes, whatever they call them, I can't remember.
Mythos.
The mythos episodes start to get fucking stupid. like bad stupid. And it finally calcified for me in the last episode of the show.
Don't spoil. Oh, you're gonna spoil it for me.
No, I'm not gonna spoil it for you at all.
Okay. Okay.
We'll talk about it when it actually happens. But that's when when I finally realized what the problem with this show was. The last season itself is like trouble entirely, because they spend a reasonable amount of time building up, these other characters, these new agents, right?
Yeah.
And Scully's still in the last season, so there's still a touch played. But even Robert Patrick's character is in season 8, the penultimate season. So you get time to kind of know him and get used to his vibe and watch him work and all these things. And I had no problems with the characters, but it was partway through the last season they were like, "Oh, gee, maybe we should just write every other episode about Mulder." Even though everybody knows David Duchovny's not on the show. So they've essentially lost this character, and then instead of, trying to explore these new characters and maybe do new things with the show and expand into things, all they do is just go, "God, remember that guy who left? He was real cool."
Okay.
But so by halfway through the fucking series, it was like, okay, some of these episodes are good, and most of these episodes are not so good, but they're pulpy. There's a kind of a low grade entertainment quality that they have, because you can get behind the chemistry that the actors have, and you can like totally get behind the situation that they're trying to paint up. It still doesn't make any goddamn sense to me that they're like, yeah, so it's about the FBI involved in conspiracies and the other government agencies involved in conspiracies. It's about the man. So there's this guy who works for the man who believes in conspiracies. And the man is like, okay, investigate these conspiracies, even though the man knows that he's involved in these conspiracies. Yeah, so like that, the setup still bothers me. But halfway through the show, Season 5, I'm going to say, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
They do so much ridiculous backpedaling.
Yeah.
And not even just backpedaling, but like, it's like they had a switch, like a lever, in the writer's office that was like, when one idea was getting tired, they just switch it to the other. And it's always either aliens or the government. And not in a way where it was like, oh, this episode's about aliens, this episode's about the government, but in like the nature of the whole mythos episodes are all like, at the very beginning it's like, oh my god, aliens are real. And then at one point in time they were like, oh geez, we can't actually say that aliens are like super real in the show, because then everybody's like, I knew it, aliens are real. So then they flip the lever over to the government side, and then they're like, it wasn't aliens, it was the government pretending it was aliens. And then everybody's like, ooh, the government, oh, I knew it was the government. But then they flip the lever again, and they're like, no, it's aliens actually manipulating the government to make people think it's other aliens. And everybody's like, ooh, I knew it, it's aliens. And then they're like, oh shit, I guess we better flip the lever again. No, it's a secret cabal in the government that's fighting with the aliens, controlling the government, making people believe that it's other aliens. And they flip this fucking lever like 12 times in the show.
Johnny, what you're talking about is like the thing that people talk about when they say when the X-Files sort of jumped the shark, like the controversial thing about it, when they decided that, you know, the premise of the show is, yeah, there's aliens and the government's hiding them. And then when they did that one episode where the guy says, well, maybe we're all just lying to you about the aliens and making it believe the aliens, that's where everyone kind of says like, oh, I wish they hadn't done that one thing. I like a lot of the rest of the stuff, but I wish they hadn't done that one thing. Yeah, so you're not alone on that. That even among like diehard X-Files fans, everyone's like, yeah, that was the moment that they shouldn't have done, and then things kind of spiraled.
Oh, did they ever? Because you haven't even seen the last episode. So I'm not gonna spoil it for you, and don't anybody in the comments dare try and spoil this for Leon. Because
okay.
this is a particular flavor of disappointment I want to hear him taste. What revelation, what struggle, what final piece of the puzzle would you hope from an X-Files finale? Like what final mystery, what struggle would you like to see resolved? Because I can assure you, just about any answer you come up with is not in there.
Right. I remember, to me, in my mind, when I was watching it, well, first, two things. When I was young and the, maybe the aliens are fake reveal happened, that really bugged me as a kid. So I get it. Like, even as a child, I was like, no. When I was young, I always felt like, well, the series is going to end when Mulder finds out what happened to his sister. But then, as I recall, towards the second half of this series, he does find out, and it's super disappointing.
This is the thing, okay?
But that's not the last episode. There's stuff afterwards.
No, I'm really glad actually that you brought that particular plot thread up.
Yeah.
About him finding out what happened to his sister, because by the time that happened, my general attitude towards each episode was, I don't really have to pay attention to this, because they're just going to rewrite it 2 seasons later and tell me that this was a hoax. I don't remember what happened to Mulder's sister. I have no idea what happened to Samantha. Because I watched whatever final episode that was wrapped up, and when it finished, I was like, they're going to change it in a year.
Okay. What the episode where they revealed what unless they changed it in the last episode, like I said, but because again I didn't see the last season, but the reveal of what happens to Mulder's sister, spoilers I guess for everyone who's listening to this, is that she was taken into Starlight. I don't remember the specifics. I just remember thinking that was weird. Okay. So I'll just say a couple things, which, I mean, unless you want to rant for the rest of the show.
I really don't have anything else. It was just like,
okay.
I realized that basically by halfway through the series, that I had almost given up on paying attention to it entirely because I wasn't convinced that any of the quote-unquote pertinent information they were giving me was actually pertinent.
Okay.
And then even when we got to the last episode, the very last episode of the series.
Yeah.
I'm not spoiling anything, okay?
Okay.
But most of it is a fucking clip show.
Gillian Anderson's really cool, though. I like her a lot.
Oh, she's fantastic.
She's a wonderful person and actress. Johnny, just one thing, and then I'll just leave this alone altogether.
I'm done. I have trotted this goat out in front of everybody and said, "Look at this goat. Okay. It's a fucking ridiculous goat."
Okay. Did you like Jose Chung's From Outer Space?
What?
Jose Chung's From Outer Space.
Jose Chung's From Outer Space. Which one was that?
That was the one. That was the comedy episode in the 3rd season where where Scully is interviewing the author, and they give all these like Rashomon flashbacks about an alien abduction. And it's like,
yes, I did.
No. Okay, that's like the one episode that even if you've never seen X-Files, you can just show it to someone and they'll. There's some
good TV in there. There's some genuinely good TV in there, and it would have behooved them really well to end after like 4 or 5 years.
Oh, I agree. Look,
at the end of the 5th season, because then like you just take that last season instead of just spinning your wheels to just actually wrap some shit up.
Yeah. Well, that's always the conflict between art and money. I mean, I know that's an extreme simplification of all of that, but basically, it would make a whole lot of sense, artistically, if they did like a few seasons of this show, and then they said we're done for like 20 years, and then try to come back strong. But instead, they had a few stinkers. So like for example. Today, there's like this news that a show I really like, Bloodline, is ending after the 3rd season, like on purpose. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, good, because it's a great show, and it was about one very specific thing. And if they tried to drag it out to 4 seasons, it wouldn't make any sense. Yeah. And I feel like that's
the first one, honestly.
Yeah, in theory, they could have made it a 1-season show, but
without the cliffhanger.
Yeah, if they just cut out that last scene, I suppose. But I actually like the 2nd season. I like watching the aftermath of a crime and not just a crime.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you guys had watched, just to speak about this, HBO's The Night Of.
Not yet, but I hear it's great. I know someone who watched it.
It's fantastic, and it's all about that. Like, I mean, it's. Oh.
You should watch it with the subtitles on.
Why is that? I'm sorry.
Because a good friend of ours actually did some of them.
Okay.
Anyway.
Oh, yeah.
No, seriously, yeah. Lauren did some
subtitles.
I know.
We're talking about things ending, when they're done. I think Dice Funk Season 2 is going to be considerably shorter than Season 1 at this rate. I don't know if that's that's probably gauche to be like, speaking of good decisions, I'm doing a good thing.
I hope that you're not criticizing.
No, no. If anything, we fucked up. The players fucked up your role. Anyway, that's just a thought that occurred to me.
No, I had fun. I don't regret anything about Dice Funk Season 1.
It was a blast. I still, we'll get into that because I have a Dice Funk question later. But
okay.
I just put a thing in the chat. You guys don't have to click that link because the story has like an autoplay video, but there's like a 2-sentence summary.
I'm gonna click it anyway.
Okay, because while you guys were talking about X-Files, I was looking to see what news we could talk about, just like if there had been any. And number one story on Yahoo, or at least my Yahoo, maybe it's regional, was that there's developments in this case. 2 years ago, 2 FSU law professors, the school I go to, got divorced. One of them started dating another FSU law professor, and then the ex-husband of that arrangement was assassinated. Like, people broke into his house and shot him in the head and left. And it was not a robbery. They didn't take it. It was an assassination. And like those 2 guys who have now been connected to, I guess the Latin Kings, like the Miami gang. Like this shit is like snowballing, and it's like I guess new details come out. I haven't looked through the whole thing, but like there's like genuine fucking intrigue going on, like 2 streets away from me. Like with
Austin,
murder.
maybe in a few years from now, someone's going to go on trial and is going to need a public defender.
I'm pretty sure that the Latin Kings have their own lawyers. They have to have some sort of. I guess maybe they. I don't know. Do they have that much organizational structure?
But are you going to spend that much money on I
don't know. It depends on what they know. If it's valuable to keep them, from. Anyway, that's probably with outside the scope of funny things to talk about on a podcast. But that was literally the first story that came up when I went to look for stories. It was about my teachers getting killed.
I'm sorry. Where is this link that you sent? Because all I see is a Pikachu dog.
It's in the Dice Funk. It's in the Dice Funk.
Why did you put it there?
Because it's all one chat to me. Discord is a thing. If we were on Skype, the voice chat would be the text chat, and Discord they're separate.
All right.
Anyway. Do you guys want to answer questions or talk about other stuff?
Yeah. Did I have anything I wanted to say? Oh, yeah. Star Trek is not coming out in January. It's coming out in May. I'm not super shocked about this because I feel like it's September and we don't know any of the casting.
Yeah, the fact that the cast hasn't been announced. But, I mean, they probably have like a script draft at this point in time. But if it's Star Trek... And if it's, like I read an interview with Brian Fuller, I think a month or 2 ago, where he was saying that they wanted to keep the whole sort of quality ethos that he had learned doing Hannibal.
Yeah. About
shorter seasons, but, like really high production values and things like that. So I was like, And he must be busy, too, running American Gods right now for Starz. So, maybe he has a whole backlog of fucking audition tapes or something to go through, so...
That could be. Like this is, as someone who's been waiting more than a decade for a new Star Trek series, you would think this would hit me pretty hard, but actually I'm like, yeah, just make sure you do it right. Please. I'm okay waiting a few more months. There's a million other shows I can watch.
Yeah.
So it's okay.
I'm with you, homeboy.
But
okay.
There's no lack of shows, and I probably will only watch it if it's good. So if you want to have that discussion, please make it good.
I'm going on to JoJo next, Austin. So
Speaking of JoJo, one of the questions is
back to JoJo next, I should say.
Isaac Grin asks what our favorite stands are. I mean, Leon doesn't know what that means. Johnny, have you gotten far enough?
I do know what that. I watched talk about stands, and I thought that was stupid.
I know you know what the concept is, but you don't know any.
No, I don't know. So I can't answer. I just think it's silly. But you guys go ahead.
I got to be honest with you, Austin. When I left, I think 3 or 4 episodes into season 3, and I was like, I'm splitting my attentions too much. I'm gonna finish the X-Files, and then I'm gonna go to JoJo.
Yeah.
And then I decided to start season 3 over again, and then on Saturday night I watched 12 minutes of the first episode of season 3, and then woke up next to a half-eaten cheeseburger at 3 o'clock in the morning. Finished the cheeseburger because it was really good.
Yeah.
And then went back to sleep again because I was tired.
That's the rock star lifestyle, boy.
Yeah. So no, I can't really.
Yeah.
I can't really but I mean...
You've only really met Star Platinum and maybe Magician's Red at this point.
Magician's Red and Star Platinum, yeah, I've met them. But I mean, for the most part, it's just kind of like... Somebody... I think I think it was Merritt Kopis who tweeted that JoJo is really becoming nothing more than an implausible stack of boys, or it was a stack of implausible boys, or something like that.
No, that was the composer for Crows. Shit.
Okay.
They did Langeskov and the Terribly Cursed Emerald.
Yeah. I know that they're working with Justin Roiland right now
Yeah.
on a VR game called Accounting, which looks hilarious, incidentally. And if it comes to the Oculus Touch, I'm totally picking it up.
It is a very implausible stack of boys. His name is Jack DeKeat. He's not quite real on Twitter. He's also a cast member of Friends at the Table, probably the second or third best role-playing podcast on the internet.
That's the one that McElroy does, right?
Nope, that's the Adventure Zone.
Okay.
Friends at the Table is the other one. There's three good ones, and by which I mean the only three I'm aware of. Adventure Zone, Friends at the Table, and ours. But yeah.
So we're at least top 3.
I would hope so. Ours have the best dads, though.
Yes.
So the answer to we got really far afield of that. Yeah.
What's your favorite stand then?
That's a good question. There are a lot of really phenomenal stands. Most of my favorite ones are the ones that have like really weird novel powers, because there's some that are like, I punch hard, I shoot fire, and like that's whatever. That's I think probably the primary weakness of Stardust
Is there
Crusaders.
one that can consume like a lot of dairy?
See, that wouldn't actually be out of place. Like there are ones that get like really weirdly specific later, and like they wouldn't be useful at all if it wasn't JoJo.
How about is there one that can immediately pick out the direction to the restroom in a confusingly laid out building?
I can't think of one off the top of my head, but there's ones that have like very specific weird powers. I think like Marilyn Manson has one that like if you make a deal with it, like if you break that deal you die, but if you don't, like it doesn't do anything to you. There's one about like, I'm mostly thinking of Stone Ocean because that's where they get like super weird. There's one that brings fictional characters to life.
Is Stone Ocean like go through after 3 is what, Stardust Crusaders?
Yeah,
is that right?
4 is
and then
Diamond is Unbreakable. 5
right.
is Vento Oreo, which means golden wind in Italian.
Right.
6 is Stone Ocean. 7 is Steel Ball Run, and 8 is Jojo Lion or Jojolian.
Steel Ball Run.
Yep, it's based on not Logan's Run. What's the shit? What's the other one?
Running Man?
No. It's a horse race across the country to collect the body parts of Jesus Christ. Is
Hidalgo.
No.
Cannonball Run. Cannonball Run.
Wait, is that what that's about?
No, that's what Steel Ball Run is about.
Oh,
The name is derived from Cannonball Run.
Steel Ball Run sounds like a story I was almost going to tell last week.
Yeah, JoJo's a fucking amazing. I think most of my favorite ones are the animal ones, like Iggy, who has like a dog with like wheels for legs made out of sand. That's a really great one. There's Coco Jumbo, who's like a giant turtle. What is the stray cat? Is it Stray Cat Strut? I don't remember from 4. It's like a dead cat. Anyway, I could probably go on, but Sticky Fingers is really great. He's like made out of zippers.
I'm trying to imagine that, but just let me see it on my own.
Notorious B.I.G. has an amazing power. Killer Queen just showed up where the anime is, and I love Killer Queen's design. It's like a giant pink cat man. It's very good. But I could go on. They're all amazing. Here's another one probably only I can answer. Jason asks favorite Alola Pokemon. I don't know if you guys are following this. This is
I have no idea what an Alola is.
Yeah,
I barely know what Pokemon is.
I understand. Alola is Pokemon's version of Hawaii. It's a play on Aloha, obviously. And in the Alola region in Pokemon, existing Pokemon look different, so they're called like Alola forms. So the one that everyone loves a lot is the Executor. Executor traditionally is like a little tree with eggs on it, and the eggs have faces. In Alola, he's an enormous, long-necked palm tree who has dragon as one of his types. He's just just ridiculous.
That's great.
Yeah, a lot of the Alola Pokemon are amazing. I think also Raticate is like chubby and like dark now. It's guys, can you please just Google new Pokemon for me and just scroll through some of them? It's very good. I promise.
I'm doing it now.
Oh, just Alola Pokemon maybe Alola.
All right. I put down new Pokemon, and the first thing that shows up is Mew. That can't be.
That can't be.
That's it. It's like literally not new.
Yeah.
Even I know that. I found the one that's supposed to be like Donald Trump.
That's not. I mean, that is a Pokemon who lives in Alola. I don't think that is the within the scope of the question, which is like specifically about these variants. Like, there's a Raichu. You know what a Raichu is, right, Leon?
It's when Pikachu grows up.
Yeah. So traditionally, Raichu looks like a fat Pikachu with a bigger tail. In Alola, he like floats and he uses his tail as a surfboard, which is very good. So there's a lot of stuff like that.
Is that how that's pronounced? Raichu?
Or Raichu, I guess.
I always say Raichu, and by always I mean just now.
The last one I want to point out. Do you guys know Cubone and Marowak?
That sounds like it. That sounds like another story I almost told you guys last week.
Is it the one who like is wearing like his parents' head or something?
Exactly.
Oh, I nailed it. Yeah. All right.
I see him now.
So in Alola, in addition to just being like a mammal wearing its mother's skull, it is wielding a bone which is like a light with two blue flames, and he has taken on Ghost and Fire. It's like the Hot Topic version of Cubone, and I'm super into it.
Okay, I'm going to a website right now.
Okay, I'm just gonna keep trying to get you guys into
Alola
Pokemon.
Marowak. Yeah, okay,
it's like
all right.
Literally never going to happen.
It's
I stopped playing video games again. By the way, I tried to play Deus Ex: Human Revolution, and I enjoyed it for like a few days, and now I'm just done.
Yeah, I bet.
So I think I'm just gonna stop altogether. I'm done. Anyway,
here's a question that Leon would be able to answer. Forum mom Kristen Haslinger asks, "Best?
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. Best or most interesting fictional race of people?" I think this is probably your purview as a Star Trek dude. They have a lot of boys in there. There's a lot of boys in that mix. Who's your favorite boy?
I guess like since I'm like a Deep Space Nine person, I guess I like the Bajorans. Or do I like the Cardassians? I mean, morally, I like the Bajorans, but the Cardassians, there's just so many good like villains in there. But yeah, like the aliens who show up in Deep Space Nine, and not necessarily were made for them, but are utilized best there, would probably be them. Fictional race of people. Yeah, well, I'll say Bajorans as my final answer. They are spiritual, and they like reclaimed their home, which is cool. And they believe in gods, but their gods are real, which is neat.
That's basically cheating.
They're like canonically real. They don't know that they're real, like for sure, until the series starts. For centuries, they're like, their gods are up there, and then there's a wormhole, and they just go in, and they're like, oh, you are real. You just exist outside of linear time. That's how you know the future, because everything's the same, is happening at the same time. Like Dr. Manhattan. Anyway, but yeah, I'll say Bajorans.
Johnny?
The Overlords from Arthur C. Clarke's Childhood's End. Pardon me.
Haven't read that one.
That's not really something I want to blow. It's a trilogy of books. No, I mean it's not really like I think it was first published as a trilogy of like novellas, but then you can buy them all as Childhood's End. I don't really want to like blow the gig. But the Overlords basically are kind of responsible for a very peaceful occupation of Earth in a certain way. It's like again, like I'm trying to use very delicate language here because I don't want to spoil the whole plot.
Yeah.
But the overlords are, yeah, there's there's some details about them that are very, very, very interesting. It's one of the best science fiction books I've ever read, like right up there with Dune. Um, just like, ooh, it's worth a read. Foundation. Sorry, fuck, that's the other one I'm thinking of. I'm like, what's that other really good science fiction book that I like?
You explained Foundation to us before because they were going to make it into a TV show, and we're like, what's that about?
I think they still are. I think that's still go for HBO. I think that's what they're going to be doing after Game of Thrones. Like, I think what's happening is Westworld comes out next month, and they're probably going to plug Westworld for like 3 or 4 seasons, I'm guessing. And then Game of Thrones has like 2 more years in it. I think it's 2 more years. And then once that's going to go under, they're probably going to take those resources and start making Foundation so that when Westworld ends, Foundation's up next. Yeah, it's Childhood's End is it's a pretty seminal science fiction book, especially for like the age that it comes from, which is like that, sort of like the golden age of science fiction, that middle of the 20th century like spot. That was also like the shit age for science fiction. It was just like what book you grabbed off the shelf.
Yeah, the pulp era.
Yeah. It's a really, like, it's an incredible book, incredible ideas, and I mean, Clarke, Arthur C. Clarke, one of the most like lauded, seminal fucking science fiction authors of all time. And the good thing about it is that it really is only one book. So it's not one of these... When you think like science fiction and fantasy literature these days, it's like, oh, do I have time to read 6 oversized bricks? But it's... Yeah, I think it's only one sort of like novel-sized, really. But I do remember, like, when I read it, I got it in these like 3 smaller... novellas that like I think my dad got when he was younger, or like maybe I don't know, I might be thinking of something else. It's been a long time since I've read it, but it's those who have read it will know what I'm talking about when I say the Overlords, because there's some pretty cool twists about what they are and what they're there for and things like that. So I don't want to say much more. But if you're looking for a great sci-fi book that won't take up too much of your time, Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke.
I bought a sci-fi novel recently. I bought it exclusively because the cover had a werewolf riding a motorcycle on it. And
I can't see how you'd not.
Right. Unfortunately, the place where I bought it online for a penny said, we made a mistake. We don't have that anymore. So I still have to buy it. It's called False Dawn. Apparently, it's actually really good. I just really wanted a book that had a werewolf riding a motorcycle on it. Oh well. It was only a penny.
I guess we know what the title card's
What about you,
be.
Leon, then? Or not Leon, sorry, Austin. Right?
Oh, I mean, I think...
The Titans! From Attack of the Titans?
You mean Attack on Titan?
Attack on Titan, yeah.
No.
Sorry. That's another one that I like. I gotta watch that.
If I made a list of like all my favorite fictional races, like the top 8 would probably be from Mass Effect. They did some incredible world building in there. I think that might be like an uncool thing to say.
No, the Elcor are pretty fantastic.
Yeah, the Elcor and the Hanar, the two that stick out especially to me because they so thoroughly unsettle our concept of like communication and identity. Like the big thing with the Elcor is that they mostly communicate through pheromones. So in order to talk to us, they have to like adopt very explicit like emotional declarations. It's
angry response.
Yeah, it's very good. And then the Hanar have no sense of self, so they say like instead of saying I, they say like this one. Like just like this corporeal thing is currently doing a thing, but it's not I. And they have like this very interesting religion. I think it's called like the Enkindling, or I think it's called Enkindling. And there's like a whole thing about that. There's another species called the Drell, which they have like history with, and they've adopted their religion. And it's like a whole thing. And all the problems I have with the Mass Effect games, and I do have problems with them, are like totally like minor when weighed against all that cool shit. So like I'll suffer through mediocre shooting or like weird pacing or like tacked on multiplayer stuff just to like what is Krogan holidays like? Like I want to explore that. Like that's all I care about. So
Are you excited for Andromeda?
I can't help but be. I feel like I've been kind of taken hostage in a way because I know that so much of the creative force behind the other games is gone, and that this is so divorced from like a lot of what those games are about. And I know they just debuted some new footage that I haven't watched yet because I basically don't need to be convinced. I'm gonna play it no matter what. But I also like I'm trying to manage my expectations because it's just not gonna be the same. It's not from the same people. It's not going for the same thing. It's just like loosely set in the same universe. So that like
I know. I'm like I sort of just feel like it's over. And I loved the Mass Effect games, barring like the gripes that you and I discussed extensively when we were still talking about video games on podcasts. Way back when. But I do sort of feel like it's over. I just like I'm sort of like that was done. What's next?
Yeah, I'm going to give it a chance. So to say if that I did and to like have an opinion on it, but I'm trying not to get set up for disappointment. Yeah. Demented Dawn on Twitter asks,
Hi, Demented Dawn.
hello. What activities do you tend to do while listening to podcasts?
Everything.
Yeah. It involves a teddy bear. Hold on, let me explain it to you.
No, I like quite seriously when I get super anxious. Like I've talked in the past about how I try to manage my anxiety by like meditation and exercise and things like that, you know. But it is so tough when you're actually in the throes of, you know, verging on a panic attack or like heavy breathing and just, you know, your emotions are getting the better of you. You can't just say to yourself, well, you know, I think what I have to do is sit down and just do deep breathing with my eyes closed for 20 minutes. Like that's such a gear change that you can't do it. So when I get really anxious, one of the things that I do is like sensory overload. I will just like I will put things on. I will put a movie on the TV that I'm not like particularly invested in. Maybe one that I've seen before or something, so it's really easy to follow and just like it's on in the background and I can turn and pay attention to good scenes when I know. I will put podcasts on. I will turn music on. I will read articles. I will read emails. You know, I will do a little bit of writing. Like I will drench myself with things. Play video games like. And that's honestly probably the only time I really listen to podcasts. When I start to, and I'm not saying I only listen to podcasts when I panic attack, but when I start to feel anxious and I feel like I can't manage it, that's when I turn them on. And it's something that like, because I've listened to like one episode of Serial. And like one episode of Night Vale where I was like, I have no idea what's going on.
Have we talked about Night Vale before?
I'm not sure.
Wait, did you start at the beginning or did you just pick one?
I picked one because this was the thing. Okay, somebody told me, "Oh, you should listen to Night Vale. It's really good." And I was like, "Okay, sure." And I just turned an episode on. I was like, "What the fuck?"
No, it's like a story.
And that's the thing is that like I could tell that there was a like an element of quality. Art. It was an artisanal podcast, handmade in the mountains of the Adirondacks.
Okay.
By a local tribe of internet shamans.
Oh my.
So I was like, I've got to go back to this. I have to check this back out from the start again. If you ask me what happened, I'd be like, I don't know, man. I lasted like 10 minutes and I was gone.
Okay.
But I keep telling myself, yeah, you know, I should start actually, like, listening to podcasts. And then I picture myself, like, sitting in a chair with my headphones on and a pipe that I don't own, but I've got it, in, like, my robe and slippers. And I'm like, I'm not sure I could do that. I think I would need something else as well. but I don't know what. Because I don't play MMOs, and that seems like the perfect thing. But
Okay.
maybe No Man. You know what? I've been playing No Man's Sky recently. That might be a good idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna take that to heart, Dawn.
Okay.
No Man's
Thank you for helping me work my way through that.
All right. I listen to like 2 podcasts, and I just listen to them at work, and that's it. The end.
There's no like deep backstory.
No. I listen to Welcome to Night Vale and to Lesbian Talk because my friends do it, and that's it.
Is that they do the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a show.
Okay, so I probably said this before, but like I walk a lot and everywhere. So for like the last 2 years, I've walked like 5 miles a day at least. I think I missed 3 days because of weather. But that's when I listen to podcasts, is when I walk, and I guess now I bus to campus.
Oh,
so
I admire your discipline, man.
it's I gotta do something with my dumb body.
No, I just, like I exercise, and you and I have talked about how you walk and I meditate and things like that, but I reach these points in time where I just go, I don't think I have time today, and it does bad things to me, and I never remember.
I've basically I've talked about this before, right? Where I've concocted a scheme where I have to, because I don't keep food in the house. So if I don't walk the 2.5 miles to and then 2.5 miles back from the grocery store, I don't get to eat. So I've basically created this like system whereby I keep myself honest. I don't know if
How many bananas this week?
is that a stereotype that listeners are aware of, or is that just personal between us that I can?
I like to think that it's just you and I touching banana base.
Okay, I have a banana thing. You guys want another question?
There's so many good title opportunities here.
Yeah, so for listeners, a thing happened and then Leon cut it out. So if we're like sound weird now, it's because we're recovering from that emotionally and psychologically.
It was a good pun.
It was so racist. Yeah, sorry. Okay, Sarah T. Gore asks, would you ever consider running Shadowrun or Call of Cthulhu for future seasons of Dice Funk? We actually...
Oh, heck yes.
I want to. I did a really like deep dive on this with Lauren on my other show, Game Crunk. It was episode 16. It's called Yowie Hands. You can find that on my Patreon, or if you just Google Game Crunk, it's on iTunes. It's everywhere. But we talk about that for like an hour about what we want to do and what we can do and what we can't do with our players and as a podcast. So I would recommend just listening to that for the full thing, because I have a lot of thoughts on that. So don't want to waste time doing it here again.
I think my past performance as DM in season 1 shows that I'd be more than pleased.
Yeah, I think I said that as well, as that it might be redundant to do Call of Cthulhu because we might have accidentally already. Call of
Cthulhu does things like lets your characters go crazy, and then you get to actually like evolve your role playing, which is loads of fun.
Yeah,
it makes for just like awesome games.
Yeah.
Dashaway Sean on Twitter asks, favorite cartoon dog and why? I'm a big fan of that there, Courage. Are you guys aware of Courage? He's kind of
the cowardly dog?
He's kind of a cowardly dog, yeah. He's a little pink guy.
I know he exists, but I've never seen this show.
Ooh, They Might Be Giants did a song about him. I think it's, I'm going to Google and make sure that's just called like Courage the Cowardly Dog, the song, but you guys can answer while I do that.
No, I mean, I'm aware there's a TV show, but I've never seen it, is what I'm saying.
No, but what are your dogs? You don't have to talk about mine. My dog is unassailable. He's perfect.
Okay.
I'm gonna take this problem from a different angle and say Gur from Invader Zim.
I mean, robot, but yeah, okay, acceptable. Acceptable.
Hey, he is resemblant of a dog.
Yeah, okay. I googled it, and the song is
just
called "Courage the Cowardly Dog" by They Might Be Giants.
I'll have to go with Jake, the dog.
Oh, that's a really
from
good
Adventure Time.
Shit, that's a really good answer.
Yeah, I just caught up on Adventure Time, and it's real good. It's real good.
I've seen Adventure Time, some of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty great show.
I know what you're talking about. When you guys talk about cartoons, I feel like I have to go hide in the closet and like cover my eyes or something like that with a hood of shame or something, because I'm like, I haven't seen Steven Universe. No, don't apologize. I'm just sort of like, when am I going to see these things? But Adventure Time and Rick and Morty, I'm like, I'm there. I know what this is.
Okay. Cool.
You guys want more questions? I'll just keep doing them.
Sure. Yeah, we can
I
go a
got
few more
time.
minutes.
Pruitt Holcomb asks, do you guys collect anything?
Nope. Done.
Regrets.
Damn it. I was trying to think of like a really like downer metaphysical thing to say.
Yeah, I do actually. I have a rather impressive CD collection.
Neat.
At last check, I was over 1,200, and that was like years ago.
Oof.
I haven't done a lot of buying of them lately, because for like the last 4 years or so, I just haven't had the space to accommodate them. I've also got quite an old school PC game library, even like dating back to like the 5 1/4 floppies. And I guess, like, I have a bunch of board games, but I'm reluctant to call it a board game collection because it's not. I don't just buy any board game that comes out. Like every 6 months or something, I look at like what's new and what's good and things like that, and then I'll buy a new one, and they take up a lot of space. Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to have a library, and I own quite a number of books as well, but I don't know I'd call that a collection, because I just sort of feel like books are something that people should have. I guess, yeah, okay, media. Why don't we just, like, boil it down to that? So, like, books, PC games. I still have all my old Genesis cartridges. Even, I think, all my old Sega Master System cartridges. Graphic novels, CDs, DVDs and Blu-rays. Yeah, like I have things. I don't get overly obsessive about any of them. Like I'm not. I buy into fandom up to a certain point. Where I'm like, anime is cool, and then there's that guy who's like, yeah, only anime is cool, and I'm like, you and I can't be friends anymore.
Okay. I'm the opposite of all that.
And apparently shoes, sorry, just as another quick aside here, because I have more than 3 pairs of shoes, and you two guys are like, that's too much.
I barely own one. I have like one and a half.
I have 3 pairs of shoes now, which is one more than I like have ever had in my life. But
Isn't it nice?
It's okay. I've worn them once. Basically,
yeah, I mean, you probably look at them and go, yeah.
They're like in the corner, not even properly like all my shoes are just like in clumps. But that's not the point. The point is, I bought a suit. I bought a couple different suits to go to Con Bravo. I'm like, you know what? With these pants, I should probably get brown shoes. So now I have some brown shoes and I have some black shoes, suit shoes, and I have a pair of sneakers. So that's that. The closest thing I have to a collection of anything, I guess, would be books, but I never really consider it like a collection. They're just, I have there's 20, 30 books sitting over there.
They're just things that you should have, right?
They're just things in the other room that I haven't thrown out yet.
You're not going to throw them out, are you?
No, I'm not actually going to throw them out. I mean, when I move early next year, maybe I'll buy a bookcase just to fill up a wall, and put them there. I bought a copy of the Apocrypha recently, so I have a new book. I don't buy a lot of books though. Like there's a library like right across the street, so that's where I go for books. But
that's respectable and frugal, Leon.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I am. Like when I played video games, like I bought some video games, and then when I was done with them, I just sold them. And that's the way I am with movies. Obviously I love movies, but what I do with movies is I either buy the Blu-ray, rip it, sell it, write it off as on my taxes, and then I'm done with it. And then I probably delete the file eventually because it just takes up space and I don't need it anymore. And possessions are fleeting, and I just, I guess if I'm done with something, I just don't care to keep it.
I'm closer to Leon. I try not to own. I basically want to own as few things as possible. I'm actually kind of uncomfortable with how many things I've accumulated living in Tallahassee for so long. But like I've moved so much that I just got in the habit of having as little as possible. Like my ideal was to have no more than I could carry at any one time. Because that was like literally the only way that I could exist in the world. But now I have I don't know.
You're such a beatnik, Austin. It's adorable.
It's not.
Neither of you guys must know how to entertain company.
That's the thing. I mean, I'm developing a theme and style for my new place where I'm gonna have 2 paintings for
tasteful conversation pieces.
All right. Leon, I'm gonna say something right now, okay? All right. Is one of those paintings you giving the finger guns to the viewer, okay? And then across the room on the same wall aligned perfectly, is it a picture of you looking pleased and surprised, pointing your thumbs at yourself like, who, me?
I like to imagine Leon's apartment.
Jesus
with
Christ.
Nothing but paintings of Leon.
No.
You know what I just realized, Leon, is that you lived in Austin and I live in Leon. So that's a real thing that we have never acknowledged before.
Thank God I'm Canadian.
Yeah. No. The paintings I want are The Wanderer Above the Sea and Fog and Moonrise Over the Sea, both by Caspar David Friedrich.
You're so
I don't mean like the pieces. I don't mean like I'm gonna go into a museum and steal them. I mean like prints of them, which I will frame. I just like those. And I'll get up like a plant. I don't know.
Tasteful ficus.
Okay. All right. You want to do another question?
Sure.
Before we go,
I thought of another great stand is Sea Moon from the end of Stone Ocean. His power is, I don't know why I'm gendering it. It's just like a punch ghost. It's like controls gravity, but that manifests as anything it touches turns inside out, which is like an indomitable power that Jolene just fucking takes to Clown Town. She just takes that guy to Fool School, and it's amazing. Jolene is the best.
Okay.
Dash Sean has another good question. Have you ever been the victim of a crime? And if so, what was the worst one?
Tons.
All right. How many times have you been crimed, Leon?
Let me think. Let me just start with my car because, like before I even get into like me, like as a human being and like my chattel,
it's gonna be like that, huh?
Yeah. Let me talk about my car. Someone vandalized my car when I lived in North Las Vegas. No reason, just like started ripping shit off, my car. That happened. What else? Someone hit and run my car a few months ago. Just like smashed into it at night and drove off because why bother? Why bother taking responsibility for what you're doing? Shit. What other things have people done to my car? I feel like there's more. There's been a couple other hit and runs. People just aren't nice to me and my car. I accidentally bumped into someone's mirror the other night, and I got at him, and the guy says, "Hey, you hit my mother's car," and I'm like, "Did I? I didn't even notice. I'm sorry. Let me get out and let's take a look." And he says, "Yeah, look, it's bent," and I'm like, "Oh, you're right. Here, let me take some pictures." And then I touched it, and it's one of those side mirrors that does bend, like it's supposed to bend. So we just bent it back.
Fold in.
Yeah, like to avoid these kinds of problems. And then we looked at it and we were like, we're good. I'm like, do you want my number anyway, just in case? He's like, no, we're good. And I shook his hand and we left because that's what you're supposed to do. Other things. Shit. People usually don't hit me.
Not usually.
Yeah, like I haven't been like in an actual fight like as an adult because why bother? It doesn't seem important. Someone tried to break into our home years ago. Back when my wife and I were still together, someone tried to break into our home while she was alone in the apartment, and I was away. And she told me about it. I'm like, oh, you should call the police right now, and I'm heading home. And she was fine. Our dog barked, and whoever it was went away. And that was it. Still counts as attempted breaking and entering of a place I was renting, so I guess that's a crime against us, or me. Other crimes. Someone started pounding on my car and demanding to speak to the racial police.
I remember that.
Yep, I sure do too, because I just re-uploaded that episode. A bunch of like not actual crimes, but people keep trying to get me involved in crimes happen quite a bit. Usually prostitution or drugs, a lot. But that doesn't count because I always say no.
Yeah, that's a different category, and that expands this conversation considerably.
Yeah. Yeah, I should put that aside. I've been dominating the conversation a bit too much here. If someone else would like to jump in while I think of more, go right ahead.
Johnny, do you want to go?
I've been racking my brain. Like, I'm absolutely certain that I have been. But, like, for the life of me, I can't
Okay. I mean,
dig up the memory.
If you want to keep thinking, I mean, I've been hit by a car. I've been hit a lot by a lot of people. I've talked about that before. I have a couple of, like, cracked and messed up teeth from being punched. I never lost any of those fights, but I did get hit a lot.
I love that you just had to throw that in.
It's true,
but I won them all.
Look, you should see the other guy. I got my bike seat stolen once when I was at the library, which is like, I get that bike theft happens, but like, I'm trying to learn. Like, what are you doing? like, just come in and get some knowledge. Why you gotta steal bike? I'm so upset about that. It's like, I would rather you just come in and hit me than just like take my bike seat or just take the whole bike. Like, why you even gotta half-ass it? I'm still mad at whoever that was. I don't know. Oh yeah, I got stabbed. So
yeah, I guess certain. I mean, people have sent me, like, death threats quite a few times. I don't feel like any of them were, like, quote-unquote serious. But at the same time, you still can't. You still literally can't do that. It's still super illegal.
actually...
But, Look,
I know.
Look.
I know.
I'm sure there is a way for it to for someone to say that it is completely innocent, and there is a way for someone to say this is obviously a terroristic threat. But whatever, we don't need to get into the nuances of each individual one. But yeah, I mean, there's that. But like I said, like in fairness, I think it's just like pissy little children more than it is someone trying. Like, if someone tried to dox me and then threaten me, then I would take it more seriously. People I know have been doxed and threatened with that kind of private information. So that's not me though. So I guess I shouldn't say anything. Okay, that's all I have to say for now.
I do remember having a shit ton of my online accounts.
Svetlana'd.
Yeah, Svetlana'd. That was pretty interesting.
Never forget.
Okay.
I managed to get all of them back, or mostly, I should say. I managed to get most of them back. My old email address is still, I think, in the wind. As well as my old ICQ number. Not that I've tried to log into ICQ recently and been like, damn, they still have it.
Fuck. Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap is the best stand. I'm an idiot. How did I not say that first? Obviously. It's the President of the United States of America has a stand that lets them go to alternate dimensions, and they use it because, this horse race.
What season is that?
That's Steel Ball Run.
Okay, I'll get there.
Oh god, it's so fucking good. Steel Ball Run is the first season of JoJo, I guess part of JoJo, that's actually good. Like, I love all of them, but they're there's a lot of problems with them, like structurally and with technique as far as writing goes. Like Steel Ball Run is like actually good though.
They're kind of emblematic of their age.
They're very tropey. They're very anime. They're very what am I thinking of? Show don't tell, but the opposite. They tell instead of show.
Right.
We're on an hour and a half, my boys. You guys want to wrap this one up?
I will say one more thing before we go. I'm in between, like, when I have to speak, I've been drinking Diet Dr. Bob, which is, look, there's a lot of, like, store brand, like, rip-offs or, like, facsimiles of popular, soft drinks, and that's fine. I'm totally down with that because it costs half of what it normally costs. If I got the real brand, and it tastes, the same to me. I just want, but like usually when people do that, like if they want to make like a fake Dr. Pepper, it's like Dr. Perfect or Dr. something that starts with P. They didn't even try.
Dr. Pete is one, I think.
Yeah,
I've seen
like
Dr.
something
Pete somewhere.
Something like that, things like that. But they didn't try. They were just like, I don't know, what's a name? Bob. Let's just do that. Like, let's not even expend any more energy on this. They're not buying it for the name. We just have to put Doctor in there so that they know this is supposed to be Dr. Pepper, but it's for frugal people, let's say, like myself. That's all I wanted to say. That's it.
All right. Final thoughts part.
I got one more thing I want to say, actually, because Leon was talking about 2 paintings that he wants to hang.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to turn him on to a photographer.
Oh.
Because I think he would really dig this guy's style.
Okay.
And indeed, anybody interested in photography, especially like, I don't know, fantastic realism, I kind of want to say, because there's this weird kind of sort of like morbid Coen Brothers / like Lynchian kind of quality to this guy's photographs.
Mm-hmm.
His name is Gregory Crewdson, and that's Crew as in CREWDSON. You just type his name into Google and hit images, and you will be assaulted with photographs that this guy has done.
I'm being assaulted right now.
And it's, I don't know, like there's a particular quality of intrigue to his photos. There's like they're weirdly dramatic and situational,
mm-hmm.
and explicitly cinematic. Like very arranged. That they have to look just so. There's this vision to them that I just find really, really compelling. I only discovered him, I think, a month ago or so. But
I'm looking at it and I'm like, wow, I'm surprised that's not a painting. One's called Manipulating Reality, and it reminds me of the X-Files. So that's good.
I should get a big painting of Gillian Anderson.
Look, I'm
doing
trying
finger guns, and then right across the room, Leon pointing 2 thumbs at himself, looking really excited, like, me?
Have you guys seen the poster my roommates put up on my wall? I tweeted out a picture of it, but
no, what is it?
It is a really old Beckett poster. I think it's like a magazine or something, and it has Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh and Ash from Pokemon, and they're standing there looking like fucking dorks, and behind them Pikachu is growling at Blue Eyes White Dragon, and they put it up as like, I think to dunk on me, be like, haha, you nerd, you'd like this nerd shit, wouldn't you? But I fucking do. It's so good. And it's staying up. I'll have to figure that out when I start dating again, how I'm gonna balance just loving this poster and desiring human contact. But that's a future problem.
Yeah.
For now it stays.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing I think about with dating. It's like whenever it pops into my head, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna let future Leon deal with this. I have something I need to do today.
If you can't handle me at my Pokemon Yu-Gi-Oh crossover, you don't deserve me at my hot dicking.
Oh my. Anything you guys want to say before we go besides hot dicking?
Choose your soap. wisely.